CTHULHU Jack.
This is a film I've been savoring to watch for many years, waiting for the best transfer. When I worked as a video jockey when that was a thing, I was always steadfast in holding off watching a film if all we had was a VHS at the time. So armed now with the 4K, I have no excuse to view this classic that inspired the Joker. Not only the look, but possibly some of the mythos that was spawned from this film in creating one of the best baddies in comics of all times. I'm talking about The Man Who Laughs from 1928. This amalgamation of German expressionism mashed with Western filmmaking by German director Paul Lenny delivers a different vibe to your typical silent films of the era. For one, with almost a 2-hour running time, this film zips along like no one's business, keeping you enthralled the whole time while watching Gwynplaine and Dea's relationship blossom, only to be tested by Duchess Josiana. As a boy at the start of the film, his father was captured and executed by King James II of England in the 17th century. A young Gwynplaine was mutilated by a Comprachio surgeon who carved in his permanent smile. Left for dead at the height of winter by the now banished Comprachicos as a decree sent down from the king. A young Gwynplaine discovers a frozen woman in the snowdrift, still clutching her baby who is still alive. Both alone, they travel through the frozen tundra until Gwynplaine comes across Ursus, a philosopher and showman. He takes in both children and becomes their caregiver. We jump ahead when Gwynplaine and Dea are now adults. Dea has suffered blindness due to her snowbound exposure as a baby, so she has no idea on Gwynplaine's appearance, but loves him all the same. Ursus employs Gwynplaine as a clown, quote, the laughing man, taking both him and Dea and his troupe of performers all across England. Gwynplaine, who's ashamed of his disfigurement and although goes along with the paid laughter from his patrons, can't help but yearns to be normal. Duchess Josiana sneaks into a show at the local fair to have a glimpse of the growing legend. Instantly falling for him, Gwynplaine desires the love of someone who can see him for who he truly is. Of course, the Duchess is an out-of-control firecracker. Her mother, the Queen, doesn't take kindly to her daughter's flaunting of duties. She is scheduled to marry Lord Dirry-Moir, who, by the way, is a stitch in this film. He delivers some of the best expressions that one has no need to read cards in order to see what he's up to. Barkilphedro, the slimiest of characters who starts out in the beginning of the film as the king's jester, has worked his way up through the years and now has the queen's ear. When he learns that Gwynplaine is the heir to the throne, he alerts the queen. She decides to set up her rambunctious daughter with Gwynplaine instead of the now failed Lord Dirry-Moir. This is all unbeknownst to the Duchess as she has secretly invited Gwynplaine to her boudoir. During her time pawing at our hero, she receives a message that her mother has decreed that she marry Gwynplaine. This is to embarrass all parties involved. With the Duchess now not so much on board, Gwynplaine is eventually captured and imprisoned, until his death is falsified so he is forced to marry the Duchess. The Man Who Smiles is a tormenting film that stays with you long after the lights come up, with an end that will have even the most stoic viewer go glassy-eyed. All the performances here, especially Conrad Veidt, who portrays Gwynplaine, is magical to watch. If you've seen The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, then you're familiar with his work as Caesar in that film. I have a soft spot for the Wild Duchess, played by Olga Baclanova. She appears in a later well-known film Freaks by director Todd Browning as Cleopatra. Something about her is always a treat to watch. Mary Philbin, who portrays the blind Dea, just illuminates the darkness that surrounds Gwynplaine's character. She is so innocent, you truly feel for her and her love for Gwynplaine. So, if you're in the mood for a silent classic that still endures after almost 100 years, you won't be disappointed. This little piece of history will fill that void for sure. Until next time. So click links below to be notified. Many thanks for the support, and Hail Cthulhu!